Tim Ryan was on a show, and I just really think one of the things he said was not appropriate at all. And to me, crosses the line of, yes, it's super important that we all call out the threat that MAGA Republicans pose to our democracy and say that we want to defeat that movement, get people away from that ideology, win politically over them, all of those things. But where we cannot step over whenever using language like that is close to calls to violence, right? Because we talk about all the time how the right is constantly dog whistling and constantly trying to subtly, but not so subtly, encourage their followers to violence against people who disagree with them. And so if we're over here making very true statements about the threat that is posed to our democratic processes and then enabling language that is very close to what the right does to us, then I think we lose a lot of our moral kind of weight that we have. And the fact that because we're speaking the truth, we are, doing the right thing and calling these dangerous tendencies out. But the second that you also use dangerous, violent language, or anything close to that, I think you lose a lot of the weight behind what you're saying. So I'll show you this moment, and I'll show you a Fox News host stoking fear in his audience and kind of talk about why is it so important, even though they're going to say all these things no matter what, that we don't use language like Tim Ryan used here. And Tim Ryan is someone I'm definitely supportive of in his Ohio Senate race, and all of these things. But in this situation, I think he gets it wrong.
Well, I would say, one, I'm one of the most bipartisan members of Congress. The last two Congresses, I've been in the top 10% of most bipartisan. I want to work across the aisle. Look, the Democrats aren't right on everything, and I'm willing to sit down and have conversations about how we can move out of this age of stupidity and into an age of reconciliation and reform. How do we fix all of these broken systems? Some of those answers will come from Republicans. It's not the extremists that we're dealing with every single day. We've got to kill and confront that movement. But working with normal mainstream Republicans, I think that's going to be really, really important, because we have to reform these systems. And I will tell them too, we got to get the government out of our business.
Okay, so again, we'll watch a Fox News host here in a second, but just to quickly address that, you heard what he said. We need to kill and confront that movement. That doesn't have a place, I don't think, in our articulation of the threat that is posed, because what we're talking about is a movement that we rightly identify as being dangerous and also posing a threat to our democratic process, which is one of the reasons it is so dangerous. But another thing that makes it really dangerous is the fact that they promote violence a lot, and people get on the air and right-wing, leaders say things that aren't directly calling their audience to violence, but we definitely still condemn them for it because it's close enough. So if Tim Ryan, senatorial candidate, is going to go out there and say we need to kill and confront that movement, what he's trying to say, I know because I keep up with him and his stances, is definitely we need to beat that movement politically, right? Make it an irrelevant movement. That's what he means by kill the movement. But using the word kill in our current political environment is just not okay at all. So here's what's going on Fox News. Of course, they're going to be saying this stuff anyways, but don't allow them to have any even tiny little kernel of truth in the threat that they're pretending is posed to Republicans.
The Democratic Party, the media, and obviously the FBI have designated the Republican Party as a terrorist group and believe it's their patriotic duty as Americans to extinguish the threat.
Okay, so again, he is a massive liar, Jesse Waters is. Fox News is spreading tons of propaganda, trying to pretend like what we're wanting to do on the left, what Biden's trying to do is politically persecute, or in his language, extinguish. And we know that's not true at all. Again, we are trying to protect our democratic institutions. We're trying to create a more happy, healthy, peaceful country, right? But whenever you have on tape someone like Tim Ryan saying we need to kill and confront that movement, that's giving some level of legitimacy to the pretending of threat that they're making. That's kind of a weird sentence that I just said, but you get the point. And so again, while I know Tim Ryan does not have those feelings, he's not trying to encourage his followers to kill anybody, that's the type of language that we would heavily condemn on the right. So I'm going to continue in a second here, but I first just have to say I am doing my absolute best, and I've decided I'm going to try to stay offline as far as not reading people's thoughts about me as much as possible, because I notice when I do that, a lot of my segments will just be screaming at the hypothetical arguments I know people are going to make later after watching this video, if that makes sense. So right now I want to scream like, this isn't me trying to equivocate between the rhetoric on the right and left. This isn't me trying to say that what the right is doing right now isn't super dangerous or we shouldn't defeat that movement. No, it's not. But I'm going to stay calm. Because lately, I don't know what it is, you guys, but there are some very, very passionately angry people expressing those views to me very loudly. But I'm in all seriousness actually not trying to equivocate, but what I am saying is for us to be the absolute most effective, impactful, and pure as a movement, fighting their movement, we can't allow any of that type of language. And so I'll say 1,000 times, I don't think he was trying to encourage violence, but it doesn't matter. There's enough people out there where you could accidentally nudge someone in that direction, and you don't want to do that, and you want to be clear about the intentions of the progressive movement, of the pro-democracy movement, and it's not to settle this in a violent manner. It is to settle it politically, and that's what we're hoping to do. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Unless you're stupid, then don't, please.